Hello, welcome to Borderlegs. The EU is anxious about global free trade, multilateralism, and the fate of its own exports in a world in which the United States, the world superpower, is threatening to introduce protectionist measures and setting out to renegotiate some of its trade agreements, not least NAFTA with Canada and Mexico. The United States is examining if steel imports from across the world, but also Germany, Britain and France, are threatening its national security under a so-called Section 232 investigation. The move is raising fears of major EU-US trade tensions, and steelmakers are obviously pretty anxious. On the 7th and 8th of July, Germany, a big world trader, will host the G20 summit in the port city and trading hub Hamburg. There, Angela Merkel, Germany's chancellor, is looking to make sure the group's members also commit to free trade. That will be difficult for her to achieve. The EU is trying to make sure that free trade talk is also reflected in action. Brussels is pushing very hard to finalize four-year-old free trade negotiations with Japan. Both sides are aiming to announce the conclusion of their negotiations in early July, ahead of the G20 summit. An EU-Japan free trade agreement is expected to offer big gains to European firms in Japan and to remove not only tariffs, but above all, regulatory barriers to exporting industrial products to Japan and to doing business over there. EU farmers are expecting a boost also to their exports of dairy, pork, pasta, and other products. Japan, for its part, is hoping that the EU will remove its relatively high tariffs on cars on entry into force of the agreement. As we speak, the two sides are haggling very hard about these issues and hope to get to some compromise by early July. These are very tough negotiations at the moment. The EU is also accelerating free trade negotiations with Mexico. Both sides are updating a 50-year-old free trade agreement to add services, agricultural products, and some industrial products that were excluded in the first agreement in 2001. Mexico and Brussels decided to go even faster than they had initially planned after Donald Trump came into power in the United States. Both sides will hold a round of negotiations in Mexico City at the end of June. The EU has also set its sights on clinching a deal with a big like-minded partner, the South American bloc, Mercosur. Mercosur includes Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. Argentina and Brazil are introducing a lot of market-friendly reforms at the moment and want to capitalize on this moment to do a deal with the EU. The negotiation is progressing quickly. EU Trade Commissioner Cecilia Malmström even said she hoped to clinch a deal in 2017. That will be likely very challenging. The talks are a bit controversial, even in the EU, where many farmers and in countries like France, Ireland, Central and Eastern Europe, Southern Europe are very afraid of a possible surge in imports of beef, sugar, poultry, and other agricultural commodities from the very competitive South Americans. So it's going to be a tough one. Also, Trump hasn't transformed the EU suddenly into a libertarian free trader. There is a lot of discussion in Brussels and in all the member states in Europe on how to complement free trade initiatives with better protection of workers and also with better enforcement of labor rights and of environmental standards across the globe. There is also a major debate in Brussels on whether to introduce EU-level controls on foreign direct investments as a result of a recent surge in Chinese investments in Europe. Some fear that China could snatch sensitive technology and increase its political control in Europe. Others want to force China to open up its own markets to European investors and signal to China that Chinese firms could face barriers if Beijing doesn't listen. This packed European trade agenda is not hampered by Brexit, at least yet. But the Brussels bureaucracy will get increasingly busy with this file as Article 50 negotiations on the withdrawal of the UK from the EU start on the 19th of June. Trade will not be on the table immediately, but business, some member states, and including continental businesses, which have been a bit silent on this so far, are calling for early talks on a transition agreement between the moment the UK leaves the EU in March 2019 and a new free trade agreement between the EU and Britain is negotiated. That's it for now. We will follow all these trade files very closely, so read up on them on borderlex.eu. You can also subscribe to our premium service, EU Trade Insights. There you get daily news on everything that's happening around trade in Brussels and beyond. Thank you very much and see you next time.